Good evening, everyone. This is your evening news recap, your nightly news podcast on all the news that I come across throughout the day, giving you my take as somebody who aspires to be a politician in the near future. Hopefully, all you guys are doing wonderful. Hopefully, all you guys are doing well. Today is September 23rd, and it is Tuesday. Hopefully, all you guys are having a great week so far, whether you go to work or whether you go to school. Hopefully, that's going well. And outside of that, hopefully everything is all right in your worlds. I'm doing pretty all right. It's been a very interesting day in the news world, that's for sure. But if you're new here, please subscribe as we are on our way to 500 subscribers, and all the support would be greatly appreciated as we try to hit that goal by the end of the year. And if you're on Substack, please also consider subscribing, as all funds go to me. They help me pay for the things that I need to pay for in college, like food, like clothing, like all that. But if not, you can always subscribe for free. I truly do appreciate all forms of support on this content. It means the world to me. And with that being said, let's get into the news from today. Moving on into the Trump administration, as we do, the first topic we have today is Trump spoke today at the United Nations General Assembly. Trump spoke today at the UN General Assembly for around an hour, and he said the group was not even close to living up to its potential. He said, "I may disagree with it sometimes, but I am so behind it because the potential for peace at this institution is great." Trump said that empty words don't solve war, claiming that all the UN did to end wars was send strongly worded letters and expected people to listen. Trump also pushed back against supporting Palestine, told countries that they were going to hell for immigration, and he called climate change a con job, along with so much more. There are some very interesting things said during this event, and we'll talk about a few, but I think overall the vibe here was honestly a lot different. Of course, last time Trump spoke at the UN General Assembly, he got laughed at, and this time he was taken more seriously in a way. I don't think that's because of respect or support. I mean, it is very clear that a majority of the countries around the world do not respect or support Trump. But it definitely seems like people are realizing that Trump isn't joking when he says the things that he does, and he's actually serious about it. And as we've seen throughout all the news, it is a very unfortunate thing that Trump is very serious about all that he does. In other news, Trump has backed out of a meeting with Democratic leaders. Trump has backed out of a meeting with the top Democrats in Congress so they can avoid a government shutdown, calling their demands unserious and ridiculous. As always, he took to Truth Social writing, "After reviewing the details of the unserious and ridiculous demands being made by minority radical left Democrats in return for their votes to keep our thriving country open, I have decided that no meeting with the congressional leaders could possibly be productive. They are threatening to shut down the government of the United States unless they can have $1 trillion in new spending to continue free healthcare for illegal aliens, a monumental cost, forcing taxpayers to fund transgender surgery for minors, having dead people on Medicaid rolls, and allowing illegal criminal aliens to steal billions of dollars in American taxpayer benefits, to try to force our country to again open our borders to criminals and to the world, allow men to play in women's sports, and essentially create transgender operations for everybody. These radical left views and policies is what allowed me to win the presidential election, including all 7 swing states and the popular vote, in a historic landslide. There are consequences to losing elections, but based on their letter to me, the Democrats haven't figured that out yet. They are trying to eliminate the popular $50 billion Rural and Vulnerable Hospital Fund, which was passed with only Republican votes and proudly signed into law by me. The Democrats in Congress seem to have totally lost their way. They obviously have no idea what it is to put America first or make America great again. All congressional Democrats want to do is enact the radical left policies that nobody voted for: high taxes, open borders, no consequences for violent criminals, men and women's sports, taxpayer-funded transgender surgery, and much more. Few people voted for what they represent, which would lead to the destruction of America. Instead, people voted for common sense. And that's what the Republicans and your president, Donald J. Trump, stand for. I look forward to meeting with them if they get serious about the future of our nation. We must keep the government open and legislate like true patriots rather than hold American citizens hostage, knowing that they want our thriving country closed. I'll be happy to meet with them when they agree to the principles in this letter. They must do their job. Otherwise, it will be another long and brutal slog through their radical quicksand. To the leaders of the Democratic Party, the ball is in your court. I look forward to meeting with you when you become realistic about the things that our country stands for. Do the right thing." Trump said transgender 3 times, and he mentioned, men and women sports 3 times as well. Talk about rent free, really. I can tell you for sure that taxpayer dollars are not going to things like HRT and bottom and top surgery for trans people, because if it was, there would be a lot more people taking advantage of that rather than, breaking the bank just for something that, helps their gender dysphoria. Not to mention, like, gender affirming care is something used by everyone within this country. I mean, look at all the Botox and shit that people related to the MAGA movement have gotten. That's gender affirming care, but they seem not to realize that and refuse to recognize it. Once again, he continues to attack small minorities to boost his ego and make his supporters think he is actually doing things beneficial when he isn't, and hasn't done anything beneficial really this entire administration. He is destroying this country on a daily basis and should be stopped for it before he destroys it even more. I mean, like, constantly, it is more bullshit, and it is something new, and it's tiring. It really is. And, I wish it could end, but unfortunately, we live in a news cycle where, they got to keep you going, or else, or the reason they keep you going, is their attempt to try and shut you down and make you complicit, which is not something you should do. That's why you should stay educated. That's why you should do your own research. That's why you should, watch videos or speak out. It is in your best interest to not fall to this 24-hour news cycle that is constantly pushing out bullshit every day. In other news, Trump has made a major shift, fully giving weapons and support to NATO along with Ukraine. Trump has announced that he believes Ukraine can win the war against Russia and take its territory back. Trump wrote on Truth Social after meeting with Zelensky. After getting to know and fully understand the Ukraine/Russia military and economic situation, after seeing the economic trouble it is causing Russia, I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form. With time, patience, and financial support of Europe, and in particular NATO, the original borders from where this war started is very much an option. Why not? Russia has been fighting aimlessly for 3.5 years, a war which should have taken a real power less than a week to win. This is not a distinguishing Russia. In fact, it is very much making them look like a paper tiger. When the people living in Moscow and all the great cities, towns, and districts all throughout Russia find what is really going on in this war, the fact that it is almost impossible for them to get gasoline through long lines that are being formed, and all the other things that are taking place in their war economy, where their money is being spent mostly on fighting Ukraine, which has a great spirit and only getting better, Ukraine would be able to take back their country in its original form, and who knows, maybe even go further than that. Putin and Russia are in big economic trouble, and when it's time for Ukraine to act, in any event, I wish both countries well. We will continue to supply weapons to NATO for NATO to do what they want with them. Good luck to all. I think this is the smartest I have ever heard Trump. In fact, this might be the smartest thing he has ever said when it comes to mediating and, trying to end military conflicts. Russia is not winning this war. I think we all realize that at this point. And if they were going to, they would have done it years ago. Just like Trump said, if Russia was really a top power, they would have got this done within a week, but they didn't. The entire conflict has been proof that Russia, for one, isn't as strong as they think, but for two, aren't really a big threat outside of all the nukes that they have, even though we don't really know if they all work or not. Sure, Ukraine is ranked 18th in global power rankings, but Russia is supposed to be in that 2 to 3 spot. There is no reason why Russia should not have won this war ages ago, other than them being not as strong as they say they are. And I mean, if they can't do that against a top 20 power, I don't even think they should be listed in the top 5. In other news, talking about ICE has held a 5-year-old girl outside of her home to lure out her father. ICE agents held a 5-year-old girl outside of her home in Massachusetts to pressure her father into coming outside to be detained. The young girl was surrounded by several ICE officers outside of her home in Leominster, Massachusetts last Tuesday. The girl's father can be heard in the video of the incident saying, "They took my daughter. She's 5 years old. She has autism spectrum. Give me my daughter back." ICE agents told the father that he would have to give them his ID to get his daughter back. He offered to give it through the door, and agents said that he would have to walk out and give it to them. This is absolutely fucking insane, and once again reestablishes that ICE is a masked Gestapo. ICE agents are mass criminals who attack families, communities, and everything under that branch, left and right, which is not okay at all. I mean, they ripped a child from their family and used her as bait, as a bargaining tool. In other words, used her as a hostage, which isn't okay for one and isn't illegal for two. You know, is this who we are as a fucking country? Truly, it is genuinely insane that this is happening on a day-to-day basis. True, like even if you told me, within the first Trump administration, granted I was, in middle school at this time, but if you told me that during the first Trump administration we would have ICE agents using children as bait to detain their parents, I would laugh in your face. I would think you were lying. Truly, I would. It is genuinely insane that this is the case. Fuck ICE. Truly, all of them deserve to rot in whatever afterlife exists. Of course, the rapture was supposed to happen today, but we're all still here. We're not going to talk about that. That's a whole different thing. But anyways, moving on into our other news segments, we have one topic to end out the night, as Nexstar and Sinclair are refusing to broadcast the Jimmy Kimmel Show. Nexstar Media Group and Sinclair have refused to run Jimmy Kimmel live, although Disney is looking to put him back on air after public backlash and after they lost a shit ton of money. A statement from Nexstar said, "We made a decision last week to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live following what ABC referred to as Mr. Kimmel's ill-timed and insensitive comments at a critical time in our nation's discourse. We stand by the decision pending assurance that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respectful, constructive dialogue in the markets that we serve." I have a feeling that Jimmy Kimmel is not going to go back on air anytime soon. But hey, that means Disney loses a shit ton of more money, which isn't the worst. If anyone breaks here, it is going to have to, unfortunately, be Kimmel. And I don't think he will. He could be way more successful if he just did it on his own, and I'm sure he can afford to do so. I wouldn't be shocked if he just up and does that. Nothing is stopping the man from making a YouTube channel and making YouTube videos like this, or, just going live on the YouTube channel, every night that he would normally go live on actual television. I'm sure he has the funds. I'm sure he could, afford to run that. So, nothing is stopping him from doing that. In all honesty, I do not think Jimmy Kimmel is going to break. And I think this situation either is going to last a bit longer and Jimmy Kimmel will get his show back, or it's just not going to happen at all. With that being said, though, I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. It has definitely been a very interesting day in the news world, that's for sure. Hopefully all you guys are doing well, though. If you're new here, please subscribe. All the support would be greatly appreciated as we try to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the year. That would be goated. So if you're new here, please subscribe. And if you're on Substack, please also consider subscribing. All funds go to me. They help me pay for the things that I need to pay for in college, like food, like clothing, like all of that. But if not, you can always subscribe for free. I truly do appreciate all forms of support on this content. It means the world to me. So thank you all so much for watching today's episode, and I will see you all tomorrow.